What happened to Toyota? They were reliable and affordable, and now you look at them, huge recalls and all these issues, and you look at it, it's planned obsolescence. Obviously, Toyota's doing this on purpose. They are not building vehicles like they used to, and it's unfortunate. People are really not happy with Toyota. They're disappointed with how the company went in the direction they went, getting rid of naturally aspirated vehicles, switching to turbo vehicles in the United States, and charging the higher prices. Even Toyota fanboys who buy these vehicles agree with me, the price is insane. They are like, what in the world? 60 plus grand for most of these Tacomas. And we're talking about a 4-cylinder turbocharged Tacoma, 60 grand. It doesn't make any sense. And it's not like you're going to get a huge discount. I'm seeing 7,000 off some of the higher trim level Tacomas. And you're having to deal with a Toyota dealership, which is the worst overall from most because they think they have their superior product and they want to sell market adjustments and addendum stickers and all this stuff. We've seen all sorts of add-ons at Toyota dealerships. They are the worst. So you're having to deal with that. Even if they give you a discount, they're probably going to want to add their add-ons and their market adjustment on there, so it's a joke. And Toyota just has a true inventory mix issue. If you go to a Toyota dealership, what are you going to see? A whole lot of trucks and not so many other vehicles. If you wanted a base model RAV4, a base model Camry, or a base model Corolla, good luck. They're going to put out the higher trim levels. And that's if the dealership actually has any in stock. They're going to have hundreds of trucks and they're going to have 2 RAV4s. But of course, they're going to be the higher trim RAV4s because why would Toyota put out more base models? They're going to put out the higher trims, they make more money, the dealership makes more, and the manufacturer makes more. And honestly, one of the saddest things is the 4Runner. The new 4Runner is a joke considering it went from a super reliable V6 to a turbo 4-cylinder. And you're talking about $50,000. Yeah, it's built in Japan, but still, the quality and overall build is not the same as the last one. Because whenever Toyota engineered that vehicle, they're not engineering it like they did the 5th generation 4Runner, overbuilding everything, thicker metal, this and that. Now they're using plastics everywhere they can. And we see what happens with old plastic. Look at BMW, it falls apart. So whenever it comes to being able to repair these vehicles in the long run, it's not good. And then also whenever it comes to cost to repair, it's going to be much more expensive to repair these vehicles with the turbos and all this stuff going on. And the cherry on top is most owners are doing 10,000 mile oil changes with Toyota. If you call your local Toyota dealership, they're going to tell you 10,000 mile oil changes are perfectly fine. That's what they recommend, and it doesn't make sense, especially with all these turbo 4-cylinders running around. And even their Tundra, going from that naturally aspirated V8 that people loved to this turbo 6 has just been a complete disaster. And of course they're going to keep selling them because, again, the Toyota fanboys. But if you look at the last generation Tundra, Tacoma, and 4Runner, they're selling for way over what you would think they would. And honestly, sometimes over MSRP if they're just a year or two old, for sure. And it's because there's so many people that would rather have that naturally aspirated over the new Toyota. So I just think we can't hold Toyota to a higher standard anymore. They're just like every other manufacturer. And it's obvious when they move production from the United States to Mexico and then they charge more money for it. And they're only paying less than $3 on average an hourly wage in Mexico. So they're building the vehicle for much less money and then they're making all this money off of us, charging 60 grand for a Tacoma built in Mexico with the 4-cylinder turbo. How much does it actually cost for Toyota to build that vehicle? Because they saved a lot of money from moving the plant from Texas to Mexico, so I wonder how much. But more people are just letting these trucks sit there. That's why if you drive past your local Toyota dealership, what you're going to see is a whole lot of trucks. And I hear so many people are going over to Nissan over Toyota. It's crazy. The Frontier, because it's a naturally aspirated V6. That's what people want. They just want simple, reliable, and they don't want to pay 60 grand. Especially for a mid-sized truck. And even the Tundra, 75, 80 grand, it doesn't make sense. So I wish Toyota would go back. Hey, leave the turbo as an option, but if you can go back to offering naturally aspirated engines, I think you would sell even more vehicles and your reputation would come back. But honestly, it'll never happen. Toyota found greed and they're not looking back. They're gonna go after the money from now on because they know where it's at. And it's not by building vehicles that last 20 to 30 years that you don't need to buy a new one. It's buying vehicles that you need to repair more often, that are not going to last as long, and that will need you to buy a new one. They're in the business of continually selling loans. That's the business they're in, not just building vehicles that last forever. It's obvious. The engineering is not like it used to be. They're building these vehicles not as good. Planned obsolescence is obviously what's going on. But let me know what you think. Maybe you love the new Toyotas and you're like, hey, but most of the time, even if you do, you agree the price is crazy on these things and they need to lower them. But hey, I think they need to bring back the naturally aspirated engines. That way we have options, but obviously it won't ever happen. But let me know what you think. Have a great day and stay blessed.